Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. If you've seen my videos for the last couple years, you might recognize that my hair is quite a bit longer than it usually is. I grew my hair out in the last few months because, man, really since like 2020, longer hairstyles have been becoming more and more popular. I've got so many clients in the chair who currently have longer hair than they ever have before. Whenever I talk to them about the process of growing it out or how to take care of it once you have longer hair, I was coming from a place of theory, like kind of what I've done for other people, but not something that I live with, not something I've experienced. And so I decided, like, screw it, I'll grow my hair longer, and that way I can experience with my clients what they're going through. So the reason I'm making this video is I want to talk a little bit about what my experience has been like growing my hair out, like what it's like to live with longer hair, what it feels like. I want to talk a little bit about the process, what it was like to get this like longer hairstyle that is, again, very different from what I've had historically, like throughout my entire adult life. Some of the things that got in my way before doing this and that I had to get out of my way to go through the process. And as a little bonus, you can watch Brian Hickman cutting my hair and hear my consultation with him and as far as what I told him to get my current haircut. So, whole long story here. In about 2019, I started seeing people lean away from fades who had been getting fades for a bunch of years. And they started, specifically, they said, I want a haircut that's going to last longer. What can I do? And the answer is a longer haircut. See, if this hair grows a half an inch, it doesn't look any different. But if I take a number 2 guard to it and then it grows a half an inch, it'll look quite different. So by having fuller sides and longer hair, your haircut can go longer before it starts looking different. So about 2019, people started making this request and shifting toward longer hair. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like the fast forward button for the long hair trend. It went from like slowly getting popular to like, boom, everyone's got long hair because of lockdowns and such. So since then, long hair has gotten more and more popular, and I'd say at this point, roughly 25% of the heads in my chair are actively in the process of trying to get longer hair. Something that I hear often and something I experienced myself is, like, I tried to grow my hair out when I was younger and I hated it, and so I kind of would like to have longer hair, but I'm not sure. It didn't work for me before. And to that I ask, did you know how to style it back then? Were you getting it shaped up regularly? Did you have an end goal in mind? And most of the time the answer is no. For myself, whenever I tried to have long hair, even though I'm a freaking hairdresser, I would just let it start getting longer, and then when it bugged me here, I'd cut it here, and if it bugged me here, I'd cut it here. But I never had a big picture goal in mind. I never went out of my way to try to style longer hair. What I did different this time that actually landed me with, I mean, I don't have like the longest hair in the world. I just cut off a whole bunch right before recording this. But my hair is longer than it typically ever is. And thank you to everybody who's given me compliments on it. Like, it really does feel good. And now I know what my clients feel. So the first thing I did is I got out of my own way. I've said in several of my videos, and I tell my clients this all the time, if you're self-diagnosing and then based on what you think about yourself, you're putting your hairdresser in a box and telling them what they can't do for you, you might be your own worst enemy. For years, I told people, I can't have my hair pushed back in the front because I'm receding a little bit, and so just don't do anything that would cause my hair to be pushed back. I don't want that kind of haircut. But what I started doing when I started seeing Brian Hickman for haircuts is I didn't tell him any of that. I said, you do whatever you think looks good on me. Because here's the thing. I think Brian is cool. I think he has fantastic taste. I think he's an excellent hairdresser. And so my thought process was like, if Brian thinks I can do it, like, who am I to say anything? I'll let him, I'll be the guinea pig, and I'll just let him do, I'll let the man cook. So cook he did. My hair began to grow out, and we started kind of styling it back a little bit. The initial plan was not to style it back. I was planning on wearing it kind of forward, sort of like Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead. What's his name? Norman Reedus, right? But along the way, we started sweeping it back, and it kind of worked. And like I said, normally I'd go, oh, I can't do that. That doesn't look right on me. But instead of listening to my own stupid, self-conscious voice in my head, I listened to my hairdresser. I just said, hey, like, if you think it looks good, then I think it looks good. And sure enough, once I trusted this guy's vision, strangers started complimenting my hair. So again, thank you for that. So I tell my clients all the time as they're in the process of growing their hair out, like, the awkward stage, if it exists at all, it's either way shorter than you expect, or if you happen to just have the right hair, it's non-existent. An awkward stage is when your hair is like too long to do what you want it to do, but not long enough to do something else. And so there's kind of like no place for it to go. So for my own hair, I did have a little bit of an awkward stage because as I started growing it, the plan wasn't to push it back. The plan was to wear it kind of forward and down. So once it was too long for me to just do like messy and up like I had done for most of my life, it was too long to do that. I was afraid to push it back. I just kind of, for 2 weeks, I had this weird mop thing that didn't really want to do anything. And then what happened is one day I was doing yard work and, I'm at my house. I don't care what I look like. My hair was bothering me because it was tickling my forehead and tickling my ears. And so when I was all sweaty and grimy, without thinking about it, I did this and it stayed back. Now that's something I tell people all the time. It's like, look, right now when you're just starting to grow your hair out, it might be very hard to get it lay back. But what will happen is one day it'll be long enough that you'll do this and it'll just stay there. A lot of people have a hard time believing me about that, especially if they've always had short hair. Their hair is coarse, it sticks out quite a bit. But it happened to me. And the moment that it happened, like I pushed my hair back and it just stayed back, I went, oh, cool. That's that thing that I promised to my clients. I just experienced it. So there will come a magic moment where you push your hair back and it just flows and it stays there. And once you reach that point, having long hair is super, super easy. You just tuck it behind your ears. All along, like once I reached that point, I was kind of afraid to get a haircut because I was like, no, I'm finally there. Like now it's laying back for me. It's doing the thing. And I really had two different kind of styling routines. So for one, on days where I didn't really care to look my absolute best and I wasn't going to be around people, I would do super simple hair. I would take my damp hair, I would take a little bit of ADH wet, and I would kind of wet it down to make it even lighter. And I would just rake it through everything, and I'd glue my hair back. I say glue it back, but it's a very light product, especially when you water it down as such. But the product held just enough that my hair would stay back until it was dry. And if it dried staying back, then all day long it would stay back. And I would just kind of do this, and it looked good. I would get a lot of natural movement in the hair, like the hair would flip out at the bottom here a little bit, and it would start to do this kind of like wave thing right there, very naturally. But when I was going to be around people or in the salon, I would put in a little bit of effort to blow dry it. So on those days, I would flat wrap the back where I felt like it was constantly puffy, and I would sometimes get the brush under here and just kind of like leaf it. And I'd get the back to lay really, really smooth and flat. And then I would also flat wrap the sides because I didn't want them to feel too puffy. But I almost never would flat wrap this area where it's kind of fine, or this area where I wanted fullness in the corners. So those were like my two different sort of hairstyling routines. On those days when I would flat wrap the hair, I would tend to lean more toward like ADH Dry, which is like a very matte finish, almost like volumizing product. Like I would put that mostly at the roots. I would get everything really flat with the blow dryer, and then I would add some lift back with the product and kind of go like this. To where on wet style days, it was the opposite. I would start off with really flat hair, and then by living in it, it would become bigger and fuller. Living with longer hair actually got really, really easy because on the days I didn't do hardly anything with it. I mean, some mornings I would wake up and it would be like, doing that first thing in the morning. Some days I would literally just go like this and I'd go, well, that's good. That's good enough on its own. All right. Like there are days where the only thing you can do is shampoo, condition, blow dry, start from scratch. But there are days when you just run your fingers through it and your hair kind of works. And what I started finding is with shorter hair, I would get like 2 days and then I felt like I needed to shampoo and rinse and repeat and do the whole process. But with longer hair, I was getting sometimes up to a week if I didn't do anything too grimy or sweat too much or anything. But just like casual living in my hair, sometimes I'd go a whole week without having to do a full restyle and it would just work. So like that was something that, dude, I tell my clients all the time, if your hair gets longer, believe it or not, it's easier to style. Like you style it once and it just kind of stays styled for days. I knew it theoretically, but after living it, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I ever want to go back to short hair. It's so easy. Like this is how I style my hair most days. Done. I should have made some bullet points or a script or something for this video, but I figured I would just kind of wing it as I'm very obviously just winging it. One thing I want to kind of leave you with here is a video clip of my consultation with Brian and then some little B-roll of him doing cutting. Just so, because a lot of people ask me like, how do I ask for a haircut? And I don't even know if I'm a good client in this sense. Like this is just how one hairdresser communicated to another hairdresser about getting a haircut. Thanks for watching. So when we started my long hair journey, this was the goal, if you recall. The reason I wanted to go that direction is I didn't think I had a good hairline to push my hair back. I just didn't think that would look good, but I found by accident after pushing it back that like, hey, I don't hate it after all. So this goal here, we can scrap that. Rather than doing this sort of like shag cut and planning on things to move forward and then pushing it back out of this like necessity, we can now if you want to move, like design something that's meant to move back.
Yeah.
So the reason I made this appointment is right now, as my hair's getting longer, I don't want it to turn into Nick Cave. He's like the coolest guy in the world, but I don't want a flat wall of hair that lays back and is heavy on the bottom. Like he's the coolest guy in the world, so he could do it. I'm not that cool. What I like is I want to see movement. I want to see stuff happening. And like right now, for me to make my hair kind of move, I have to style it to make it move. So I want to try to find a sweet spot where it's still long enough that I can wet style it, like just slap some gel on there, slick it back like Pierce Brosnan, let it air dry, and then rough it up later. But I want it short enough that it won't just lay flat after I do that. Like I want it to kind of bloom and come to life. So I'm not opposed to losing a bunch of length here, as long as it can still go just behind my ear. Yeah, like a mid-ear. Yeah, and even if it starts moving into like mullet territory, like I'm not afraid of that. I really like this. I don't want to try to tell you how I think it's done, but I like that you can subtly see a weight line on the corner, so it might have some squareness to it. It's not like completely round, but there's a crap load of movement. And so I like I want to be able to go like this and just have it break apart into pieces, but not out, like straight out. Like I still want it to flow back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can we do it? But also, I feel like asking you to do anything even remotely graduated is like a waste of your specialty. Like you're like the layer guy. And so, I mean, if you want to do something but even beyond, like if this works somehow, you could do that too. I'm not afraid of that. Like it's the weirdest thing. Like the vibe I feel like I might be going for is I've noticed while looking through some of these pictures, the look is like when I was 8 years old and I would overhear my mom be like, "Oh, that's a handsome man over there." Like that haircut, like back in those days, like a handsome man in 1993. But also, I still like things jagged and broken and very texturized. Like I almost want it to look like handsome man from 1993 who cut his own hair with a beer bottle, like a shattered, broken beer bottle.